This was totally unexpected, but it looks like we're now building a drag slash car. Unexpected because I was not looking for a drag car. I just happened to stumble upon a Facebook post that was, I think, too good of a deal to pass up, and I was like, well, we're gonna do this through PayPal, and if everything's legit, then I got myself a freaking awesome deal. It's funny because if you guys saw one of my previous videos, I actually just did a Cadillac body. So out of all the bodies that could have been for a drag car, I ended up with another Cadillac. What are the odds of that? So I was like, you know what, this is a sign. Well, in total, I paid $260 shipped. That included the body, the chassis, front drag wheels, rear drag wheels, and a bunch of extras. It came with a Sidewinder 3 and the VXL 3500, which obviously I'm not going to use in this. That's not a very great setup for what I want to do anyways. If it's such a nice chassis, why am I going to throw a VXL in it? But it came with the metal hot racing transmission and gears, hardened gears, upgraded bearings, just, you know, you name it and it has it. The chassis has the aluminum shock towers, Proline mounts, they upgraded GTR Traxxas shocks, MTG axles. I mean, this thing is fully decked out. I literally have to do nothing except build it. The body obviously isn't in the best shape, but you know what? That's what a drag car is. It's going to go on its roof. I never expect the paint to stay very nice for long. Just looking here, these are going to be all the parts that we were using for this build, and we'll go through them one by one. So let's start with the chassis. The chassis is a Chuckworks Redline mid-motor chassis. It's made of a composite material, so I don't know exactly what that means other than there's probably fibers mixed in with plastic and maybe some other stuff in there. From what I know or understand is that this is their own special blend, so you most likely won't be able to find something similar to this if it's not from them. So weighing in, here we go, we have 2 pounds and less than 1 ounce. So that's a pretty good starting weight. I expect to add maybe double, triple the weight and keep it somewhere around. I want to hope to keep it under 8 pounds at the very end. We'll see how that turns out. The chassis is pretty clean overall. What I'm going to do is just kind of take off, you know, give it a light dusting. It does have a little bit of dust. The owner said it's been sitting for a while. He was going to use it for this race season, and he actually went to Monster Trucks and he wanted to fund that. So that's when you can find the good deals, is when somebody's really trying to get out of something that's a specialty. No prep drag scene has been growing very big in most places. You know, I guess it depends on your area, your terrain, how many people live there, but overall it's been a growing sport. Here in Houston, it's actually pretty popular, and there's a lot of people actually doing these. I forgot to mention these. I believe these are from Alosi Baja Ray. I could be wrong, but I went ahead and colored these in with the chrome pin from Molotov. It gives you a nice liquid chrome finish. You do multiple layers if you want it shinier. Just depends on what the backing material is. This is like a composite gray, so it does have a little bit of shine. I like that it doesn't look even. It looks like there actually is some wear on it, so I'm happy with that. So one of the first things that I want to do is get that rear end fixed up, and pretty much everything is held on by this. And here is the part number. Hot Racing makes fantastic parts, but I've never used this aluminum transmission that they make, although it is quite nice. Here is how it looks. It's a very nice machined black, and it's got like a beveled edge here that's been machined. Looks really great. Feels nice, has some nice weight. Good thing is this is all for heat dissipation, basically the entire case because it's aluminum. It looks like they include everything that you need as far as mounting, and they don't include any of the internal gears. Those you will have to get separate, which he included for me as well. The main part is going to be this differential case that goes on the inside. And again, it's just the same as the case, which is really crazy. You know, you're not even going to see this part, but it's very nice, detailed, machined black, also machined with the silver on there, beveled edges, the countersunk holes, very nice. And they also include everything but the internal gears that go for this. And there is the part number for that one. So in my case, I actually made a mistake. I was originally going to use 500K weight oil in the differential, but I actually came across this Hot Racing Super Duty locker. Now I've used their other one in the past, and I'll link a picture here. I think it's blue or purple on the anodized aluminum. That one is weak, it sucks, it breaks, it comes loose. I've used it before, it's trash. That's why I made this video on how to lock the diff, because at the time that was all that was available. Now that they have the Super Duty one, we're gonna try this one out instead. So we don't necessarily need gears or the oil for this part. If you do, these are the gears that you're gonna need for the internal. And I recommend starting with a 500K weight oil. And if that doesn't work, go heavier, go a little bit lighter. It's gonna depend on your application, your altitude. A lot of factors go into how the oil responds. Here in my region, 500K is a good starting point. These are the two ends for the axles in the rear. This one has been a little bit used. Obviously, it's not the matching set, but he did send these together with him. At least I have them. If they don't work, then we can switch to another drive shaft. No big deal. They're just Integy. You know, they're not always the best in quality. And these two gears will be the one that finish off the transmission. We have a nice Fast Eddie's bearing, ceramic bearing kit that we're going to include with this. Final thing on the transmission is going to be a slipper eliminator, so we're going to get all that power straight to the wheels. Since we are working with aluminum parts, I highly recommend using at bare minimum blue Loctite on all your screws. A little bit goes a long way. So here we have one side of the differential case. We're going to put that on the inside here. Gear's going to go in between that, and then we're going to finish it off with the other side. We'll put the 4 screws in, and that's it for our case, and it's going to be solid. It's not going to move. Like I said, you don't need the oil. Makes it a lot easier than putting in all those gears and then waiting for the oil to drop in. 500K oil will take several minutes for it to settle in. Alright, the differential case is all ready to go. Blue Loctite on all those screws and blue Loctite on the set screw on the locker. Next step is to open up this case and get the gears going inside. I only have to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 screws. These just go for the little heat sinks on the top here. And this front cover comes off, and then the case opens up. So we'll start by dropping in bearings wherever they need to go. There should be 1 here, 1 in there, and then another 2 here. So we got 1 on the top right there, and then we have another one right here in the middle. Next step is our shaft here. Our output shaft goes here. There's supposed to be a little shaft that goes in the middle here that holds it in place. I do not have that, so I'm gonna have to get that from my local hobby shop. Your differential gear, these gears are gonna go facing upwards towards these other gears. Once I get that shaft, everything should mesh up pretty well right there, so you can see that's how it's gonna look. But before I do that, I'm gonna have to take this differential case out so I can put the wings so it actually mounts to the chassis. I went to my local hobby shop and they did have the part that I needed in stock, but I didn't know that I had to buy the entire transmission case just to get the little shaft. A little bummer, I have to pay 10 bucks for a little shaft, but I don't have it, so what else can I do? So we put that little input shaft in here, and now all of our gears are gonna line up. And now that it's in place, make sure that all the bearings are set correctly, and now we have a working transmission. Last step is to put some grease in here. I'm not gonna overly fill it up, just enough to get some lubrication on the gears. I like to use this. I got this from Pep Boys. You can find it at pretty much any auto parts. It's a lithium based and it's worked pretty well in the past for me. This one tube I've been using for a few years now. I use a Q-tip, get a pretty generous amount, and then we're gonna put it on the gears and spread it around. Like I said, I don't overly fill it up. As you can see, it's just very tacky. As you can see right here, it leaves stringing, which is good. And that should be more than enough to have all the gears lubricated and shouldn't have any issues there. So we're gonna close this up and finish off the transmission. So once we close it up here, everything just snaps into place, and then we'll put our screws in, and we'll put the screws in and it'll be all set. Normally I would advise putting a piece of tape over this once the case is sealed, just so you don't have any gunk going in there, but if you don't have any, that's alright. You can always put a piece of paper or something underneath. Anything's better than nothing. We're going to put our motor plate back on. and the input shaft goes here, and there's a little nub where it holds on to, and then we'll put our screws back in the way we've had them before. Small screw goes on this first one here, and then the rest of them were all long ones. What I did for the bottom of my transmission case is, instead of using tape, I used this little foam, which also keeps vibration down. I don't know if it really helps a whole lot, but cut this out of styrene, and it fits directly underneath here, and all the holes line up just fine. This is not a necessary step. Like I said, you can just put a piece of tape, or you can just leave it blank. It's fine. Now we're putting in this little pin. Always a little tricky when you have big hands. Now that we have the pin in there, we're going to put in our spur, which has the slipper eliminator and has a little slot there for it to go into the pin. We want to give it a test and make sure that it is spinning the gears on the bottom. And then we can put our spring and our nut in here and just tighten it all the way down. Now we're ready for installation onto the chassis. So on this chassis, there were 4 screws holding this whole back part, and I went ahead and removed those so that this is kind of somewhat flexible, so I can squeeze all this stuff in there. I'm going to remove the arms off of the shock, that way it's already mounted to the transmission and I can just realign it that way. The drive shafts are now attached on this end, and we're going to start the assembly process now. So the way that this works is it actually gets flipped this way. It's going to take some maneuvering to get this in here without having to remove all this. If I have to, then I have to. Alright, and there she goes. Before I screw everything down, I'm going to put the arms on first, since this seems to be the hardest if I'm putting in the pin. I've had trouble in the past with aluminum cases and getting that pin to go in. So I'm going to just eliminate any binding and try to get these in first. Here's the completed rear end with the mid motor. It went back together relatively okay. The only real issue I had was actually with these holes lining up initially. I loosened these 2 at the end, and that helped loosening everything up enough to where I could fit the holes in, and everything fit nice after all. So no complaints there. Just a little troublesome, but you know, that's part of the custom, right? Here's the rear with the wheels on, and now let's get a weigh in. So we've added literally 1 full pound to the truck with the rear wheels and the transmission. We still have a couple heavy things left, like the motor and ESC and battery, but we're looking pretty close to around the 6-7 pound range when it's all said and done. I had to stop filming for a little bit because I had a couple issues. First issue was I had an extra motor and ESC. So the first issue was that I don't have any 5mm pinions that are 48 pitch, but I have plenty that are 32, so I had to swap all this out, and I went with the Slash 54 tooth spur gear, 32 pitch, and using 32 pitch pinion with a 5mm shaft. So I got that taken care of. The ESC that we're going to be using is the Mamba Max Pro Short Course Truck Edition. This is a censored one, so is the motor. It's a 4000 kV Tekin. I'm going to try this combo out. Like I said, I had this as an extra. I do need to order the sensor wire, but I can pull one off one of my other rigs just to see how it's going to go. There is a little bit of sand because it came off of a dirtier rig, but I was running that one uncensored. So we should be able to get enough power and juice out of this system. 4000 kV I think is pretty good for this, and that Tekin has been very strong. Time to weigh. This is now with the ESC, motor, wheels on both front and rear. right, 3 pounds, 13 ounces. We're looking good for that 6 pound. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this 3-cell battery that I have real quick just to see how much more it adds in weight. So we're about 4 pounds, 10 ounces roughly with a 3S LiPo in there. So obviously I'm not gonna run 3S, so it'll be a little bit lighter than that. Next up on the list is the servo. I'm gonna remove this servo horn because I'm using a metal one. And we're going with a ProTech 100T. That should be enough for this application. I had it in one of my heavier trucks, but that should be fine. Servo installation is fairly simple on this, and we can actually put it on either side here, but the way it's set up over here like a stock Slash would be. Okay, so everything is hooked up as of right now. We got the servo in. I actually put the servo the wrong way. I thought it went in as the regular Slash and I put it on this side. Turns out that's the wrong way and it goes on this side. So here is the first throttle run with it, and let's see how it sounds. We'll go slow. Alright, that's some definite power, although this is a 3S pack, but I'm liking the sound of that. Everything's working nice. I'm gonna have to adjust the trim a little bit. Okay, and here is our final tally. Really, the last thing I have to do is just clean up some wiring, zip tying it to here, and making sure it all looks good. But that is our final weigh-in, not including the body. So I'd say 4 pounds, 13, 14 ounces. Actually, you know what? Hold on. So with the wheelie bar, with the body, the wheels, motor, ESC, battery, 2S battery, 5 pounds and almost 6 ounces. That is fantastic. That's exactly what I was trying to go for, was under 7 really. It's gonna be a really light and really fun car. It's just a matter of tuning it now, just taking it out to the street and seeing how it does. And this is running a 2S, and this is how it sounds like with the 2S. Still pretty decent amount of power. I feel like I can get some more out of it, but that's gonna come with gearing. But this is a great starting point. Like I said, to test and tune, and we'll see how it looks. Well, here's the first ever test on it. We'll see how it does here. Haven't warmed up the tires or anything. We just wanted to see and make sure it runs. Definitely's got some slip on the back. Something's definitely glitchy with the turning. I'll have to check that out. Well, she's up and driving. There's definitely some tuning that needs to be done, but that's okay. That's part of why we build these, right? Definitely I'll get that turning checked out and see. Maybe I just have to recenter the servo horn or something. I'm not sure. But she's up and running, and I'll definitely do some more update videos with the tuning. I'll let you guys know. But as always, if you have any questions, don't forget to leave them down below. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching Flash Hobbies.